So what I do is I'm actually a growth consultant. So a lot of times I'm doing like data analysis. One big thing that I've used ChatGPT for as like an overall thing that I use it for is to basically write Python code to like automate just whatever I can. It's usually like some sort of data analysis or to be able to download something through an API or a server, and you pretty much can just tell ChatGPT, what API you want to connect to, how you want to connect to it, what you want to retrieve, maybe if you're using an API to pull out data. I can do that with Facebook and Facebook advertising. I can say, here's my account information and, write me a quick script basically that I can just run and pull all that data. Something I did that was really interesting that kind of made use of ChatGPT's sort of, ability to remember and learn from what you're telling it is I actually used it to create like a naming convention. Speaking of Facebook advertising, that's what I was using it for. I was using it for Facebook and Google advertising. So I used it to create a naming convention that could be parsed with by code. So it's pretty similar, like it's simple. I just basically had a delimiter thrown somewhere in that name. So it basically just learned the naming convention, what I was trying to accomplish with that naming convention, which I think is pretty intense on its part. It's able to kind of understand what your goals are, what you're doing. If you tell it, obviously, if you don't tell it, it'll just guess. But so basically what I did is I made the naming convention, taught it how to use the naming convention, and then was having it spit out code to perform data analysis on this naming convention and have it sort of, bring it to the final like data output that I was maybe looking for. So for instance, maybe I have a client that, this is actually a real use case. I have a client that runs a bunch of different types of events. And so they want to know in the advertising which events are doing what. And since that's not really like a data point that you can get out of Facebook, the only place you can really put it in is the name. So with something like that, you could create a fully automated script through ChatGPT, and it would be able to basically give you like a dashboard report or something like that. Because you can go between languages with ChatGPT too, which is one of the things I really want to start doing with it, which is the use case of taking all different languages that maybe you don't understand or you don't know, and being able to build the other pieces of what you're trying to build in those other languages without having to learn them. Like ChatGPT can kind of work as a crutch in a way. So,
Andre, those are great use cases. Would you describe ChatGPT as indispensable to your work yet, or is it still an interesting toy or interesting tool that you're learning?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it indispensable because I've been kind of, I just really talked about the code, but I've been using it for all kinds of different things, trying to figure out what I can really use it for. And I tend to really have to use something a lot in order to really work it into like whatever my workflow is. So I could see it becoming indispensable for sure. And I'm pretty sure it will be, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case yet.